Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be predicting the scores of round 4 of this season's Carabao Cup, and these ties take place on Tuesday 29th of October and Wednesday the 30th of October. I've got two ties on Tuesday and it all kicks off on the south coast where Southampton take on Stoke City. Both of these clubs came through their third round respectively, both on penalties. Southampton beating Everton at Goodison Park 6-5 after drawing 1-1. And Stoke managed to overcome Fleetwood Town 2-1 on penalties after they also drew 1-1. Now, for this fixture, you've really got to fancy the Premier League team. Southampton showed a decent account of themselves against Manchester City on the weekend in the Premier League, and Stoke City lost 2-0 away against Sheffield United. So, Stoke could cause the Saints a bit of a problem, and I think they will score, but I think Southampton will score too, so I'm going to go for a 2-1 home win to Southampton. Next up we've got Brentford coming up against Sheffield Wednesday. Now in the previous round, Brentford overcame London rivals Leyton Orient 3-1, and Sheffield Wednesday, they had a decent away victory against Blackpool. So in this fixture, looking at Brentford's squad, even if they rest a few players, you've got to fancy them over Sheffield Wednesday, and Brentford got a decent defence when they're on song, so I'm going to go for a 3-0 home win to the Bees. We then move on to Wednesday evening where Brighton take on Liverpool. Now Brighton on the weekend 2-0 up against Wolves and came back to draw 2-2 in the dying embers of that match. Liverpool, of course, playing on Sunday afternoon against Arsenal in a tough match at the top of the table. But in the previous round, in the Carabao Cup, Brighton actually gained a 3-2 victory over Wolves, who we were just talking about. And Liverpool absolutely thumped West Ham 5-1 at Anfield. So, looking at this, you probably go for a Liverpool win, but you never know with Brighton. It all depends on the sides the managers put out on this one, but I'm going to go for a Liverpool win. I don't think they'll concede either, and I'm going to go for a fairly straightforward 2-0 away victory to Liverpool. Then we've got another All-Premier League affair in Aston Villa taking on Crystal Palace. In the previous round, Aston Villa came away with a 2-1 narrow victory against Wycombe Wanderers, and Palace replicated that scoreline with a 2-1 victory over London rivals Queen's Park Rangers. Now, do I go with the favourites? Can we see Palace getting something here? Possibly. Villa getting a draw on the weekend against Bournemouth. And Palace, at the time of recording on Sunday afternoon, are drawing 0-0 against Spurs. So, another tough one to call, pending on the teams that these guys put out, the managers. Unai Emery, bit of a cup specialist, isn't he? So I'm going to go for a 2-1 victory to Villa. Then, next up we've got Manchester United coming up against Leicester City. Man United currently, at the time of recording, drawing 0-0 with West Ham in the Premier League. They thumped Barnsley 7-0 in the third round of this competition last time out, and Leicester overcame a stubborn Walsall team by going 3-0 on penalties. So another tough one, would you say? No. Surely with the depth of their squad, Manchester United get through against the Foxes, and I think they will. I think there's going to be goals in this one, so I'm going to go for a 3-1 home win to Manchester United, even though Man United have found it quite hard to come by goals this season. Next up we've got Newcastle United coming up against Chelsea. Chelsea currently at the time of recording are beating Newcastle United at Stamford Bridge in the Premier League. This one though, back at St James's Park. Newcastle in the last round beat AFC Wimbledon 1-0 and Chelsea thumped Barrow 5-0. Another tight one to call, this one. I think being at home probably give Newcastle the advantage. Chelsea though have got such a big squad, can call on lots of quality. I think it's going to end up 1-1. However, I do fancy Chelsea to progress to the next round on penalties. Next up we've got Preston North End coming up against Arsenal. Again, Arsenal in action later on this afternoon against Liverpool. And in the previous round, they thumped Bolton Wanderers 5-1, whereas Preston North End came through that humongous tie against Fulham, where they won 16-15 on penalties. It could have gone all night, but they came through in the end at Deepdale. So this fixture, you've got to fancy Arsenal. Probably put out a few youngsters, but the youngsters are fantastic as well. So I'm going to go for a 3-0 away victory to Arsenal. And the final fixture of round 4 of the Carabao Cup for the 2024-2025 season see Spurs Tottenham Hotspur taking on the citizens Manchester City. Manchester City is looking at their squad, and even though they've got massive quality in that squad, they've only got really Haaland up top. If he doesn't play, they play with a false 9. Probably two of their 3 most important players are out in Rodri and Kevin De Bruyne. Spurs, they can rotate a bit themselves. Probably got a bit of a bigger squad than Man City, but Man City always take this competition seriously, and they've won it so many times over the past 10 years. So at home you've got to fancy Spurs, and Ange Postecoglou always says he wins something in his second season, and he'll be going out all guns blazing for this one, and I think he will pick the strongest team possible. Whether they can beat Manchester City is another thing, but I think they will, and I think they'll come through possibly on penalties. Now I'm going to give it to them in 90 minutes, and I'm going to go for Tottenham 2, Manchester City 1. So those are my predictions for the 4th round of the Carabao Cup. Make sure you leave your predictions as a comment below. I'll go through each and every one of them and see if you can beat me in these 8 fixtures. But thanks for joining me once again. There'll be videos out later this week for the Championship and the Premier League. Hopefully back with Nathan as well. For now, enjoy the 4th round, and I'll see you all in the next video.